Oh, she's gonna be so distracting. I'm gonna be so distracted this whole time. She's so cute. Oh. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and I am still here. I took an unintentional hiatus for a little while. If you hear snoring, I apologize. That will be explained in a minute. A lot of things happened, and so I kind of got distracted and didn't have really the time to make videos, but I'm happy to be making them again. And because of that, I thought that today's video would be just a little chatty catch-up video. The biggest change that has happened to our lives recently, I was gonna show you, but she is asleep, and you don't wake a sleeping baby and you don't wake a sleeping puppy, and you heard me right. We got a puppy. I'm so excited. I had dogs growing up my whole life and actually said to Lewis on our first date that no matter what happened, when the time and the circumstance was right, I was gonna have a dog. And now we do. So I'll put some video over top of me talking here because, like I said, she is sound asleep, beautifully asleep. So this is Charlotte. She is our around 3-month-old Cocker Spaniel. We don't have an exact birthday for her, so we've kind of had to ballpark it. I've had Cocker Spaniels before. Growing up, I had a couple Cocker Spaniels, and they're just great dogs. They're so friendly. I mean, they have a ton of energy, but they're really, really friendly and really good with other animals and with kids. You guys know that Lewis and I have 2 cats. So that was another big pull, but I've just always had good experiences with them, and they're also kind of the right size for what we were looking for. We didn't want to get a dog that wasn't right for our lifestyle because it wouldn't be fair to the dog or to us. So Cocker Spaniel kind of fit the bill all the way around. We were really lucky to come across someone who had gone away to take care of a family member, and their dog was, you know, I guess you can't watch dogs 24 hours a day, and they had someone looking after their dog and got pregnant. Unintentionally got pregnant. Unintentional by the owners. Anyway. So yeah, Charlotte's mom ended up having puppies, and the people who owned her mom are an older couple, and they just said that they, you know, couldn't really take care of puppies. They didn't have the energy or the time or really the ability to anymore. So they were looking to rehome the puppies, and luckily enough, we kind of hit right time, and yeah, we got Charlotte. So we're really, really happy, really pleased. We have been praying and talking about getting a dog for years. But we were in a 1-bedroom flat. Some of you will know this. We were in a 1-bedroom flat in Edinburgh before we lived in this house, and my husband was working in another city that was around 2 hours away, and so commuting about 4 hours a day. And I was a full-time student, and I had various part-time jobs, and it just wasn't right. So when we knew that we were moving into this house, we started seriously talking about it. And although Charlotte came to us a little earlier than we were anticipating getting a puppy, when the stars aligned and everything kind of did for us, we just couldn't say no. She was the right one for us, and I hope we're the right parents for her. So at the moment we are working on potty training her. It's just funny, I've been a little bit hard on myself. Maybe that's not so surprising to anybody who knows me, but we've only had her for a week, and I've already been like, oh, I'm not potty training her well enough. She's never gonna be potty trained. And my husband's like, that's not how that works. And he's never had dogs before, and even he's like, this is not how it works. This is not it. She is doing really well though. I mean, we're having kind of like minimal accidents, but yeah, I'm nervous that I'm not gonna do well enough, and she's gonna be like one of those dogs that just pees on the floor for the rest of her life. Can you tell I have catastrophizing anxiety? So yeah, she's a really good sleeper though, and she's very, very loving. She's already learned fetch, although drop it is still, you know, iffy. She's learned to sit already. I'm in love with her. I think we're both just completely in love with her. My husband grew up with cats, so he's been a little bit more cautious around her because he doesn't really understand dogs. He's never had a dog before, but for me, it's very natural because I've had dogs my whole life, basically. So yeah, I'm thrilled and I'm so excited and I'm exhausted. I'm up at 5 every morning right now, which usually isn't too far off when I usually get up. I'm usually around like kind of 5, 6-ish, but I'm not used to getting up and like go, go, go right away. And with a puppy, we have to take her out on a walk right away, and then we feed her, and then we go on another walk, and it's just like, it's a lot of work. And first thing in the morning, she is bursting at the seams with energy. Like, she has completely recharged her batteries. She wants to go, she wants to play, and I'm still trying to make my way through my cup of coffee. So there's been a lot of naps happening. We've been napping together quite a lot. Some of the other things that have been going on that you might actually be able to tell if you've seen some of my other videos is that I painted the room. My husband did help me, but around the time that we were getting kind of knee deep in getting this room painted, he went back to work. He's working like some days at home and some days at the place where he works, because he doesn't work in an office, he works at like a public building. And so some days he works there and some days he works at home, and it kind of differs depending on what they need. But he was going from furlough back to working full-time at the point where we were working on this room, which meant that I was the one who needed to do like most of the work, although he did help. This room was frustrating. We had some walls had nothing on them except paint. We had some walls that had wallpaper and were painted on top of that. So we had one wall that had like a cushiony, textured, really bad wallpaper. One wall had a faux brick motif wallpaper, and another wall had sparkly wallpaper. So I had to take all of that down. It was painted like a bluey gray on some parts of the room, and then another part of the room was albeit a small one, but another part of the room was painted pink. And yeah, there were just a lot of DIYs that had been done in here that had been kind of half completed and half not. So getting the room prepped to be painted took a really long time. This is also the biggest room in our house. So it expands. Taking down everything and getting this room prepped to be painted was a trial, but it's done and I love it. The vibe we're kind of going for in here is like an early 20th century, late 19th century, like gentleman's club. If you're thinking like P.G. Wodehouse, Bertie Wooster goes to like a gentleman's club once in a while, meets up with his mates. It's a nice way of putting it. You know, there's lots of like, it's like darker colors, heavy furniture, dark wood, that kind of thing. We're also going to be hopefully getting the floor done in this room. Right now we have this gray carpet. I don't like it. Most of the things in this house were gray when we moved in. It's been decorated very kind of modern-ish. There's a lot of gray in Scotland. When we were looking at houses, like gray and purple were the most common colors. I don't know, it's not my thing. So we will hopefully be getting some type of hardwood floor, probably laminate or engineered wood floor in this room, and we're getting built-in bookshelves. I'm so excited because, you know, we're 8 months in, I think, to living here, and my books are still mostly, some of them are out, but mostly they're still in storage. Or not storage, boxes. Who am I? We've got boxes around the house, so. We've got a lot of plans for the house. We have to do the bathroom at some point. It's been fitted out. I think the last time it was fitted out was like the 80s. This house was built in the 60s. Well, 1960 actually. And because of the way the house has settled over time, the fixtures don't really fit that well anymore, and the tiling wasn't done very well, so there are some leaks and some cracks that have been kind of temporarily fixed until we have to redo it. So we will be redoing the bathroom at some point. I'm going to be painting my studio. I've got a new sewing table to put up in my studio. So excited to use that. I've got lots of ideas for like the master bedroom and our dining area and the kitchen and stuff, but all of that's gonna wait. This is our first home. We don't have a lot of money, so it's gonna be a process over time, and that's really how people did it before the internet. It was very few people that like completely revamped a room, or were able to. So we're taking our time, mainly just for, you know, financial and timing reasons. And I'll hopefully be documenting some of that, but the biggest thing I want to document, and the one I'm probably the most excited for, is redoing our garden. We have a good sized space outside, and we're going to be putting in a greenhouse and raised beds. I haven't had those in this year, so those will hopefully go in either late this summer or early next spring, kind of end of winter, early spring. But we're going to be putting in so much. I have been growing stuff though. We've had strawberries from the garden, we've had tomatoes from the garden, I've been growing calendula and cosmos and dahlias and lupins. I think we've got peppers, but I don't actually know if that's going to produce anything, to be honest with you. We've also got tatties, which are like so nearly ready. I'm so excited for the potatoes. We've got herbs, we've got tons of plants that we've just been growing in pots because we've got mostly gravel outside. Yeah, but next year hopefully we'll be getting more kind of structures in. And then other than the puppy, I've had a lot of quite big changes to my medical life. So I don't talk loads about my medical life on here. It doesn't really occur to me that much, but I am a type 1 diabetic, and I've had a lot of changes. So recently I had my first hospital appointment since just before COVID started in 2020, and I ended up getting a sensor. There's a few different things you can call it. So in North America, a lot of people call it a sensor, and that's generally what I refer to it as. But here it's called a CGM, which means continuous glucose monitoring. And there are different models. So the model I have is the Freestyle Libra 2, and it looks like this. It just looks like, to me it looks like a little like smoking patch, like a Nicorette patch or something. But yeah, it's there. I change it every 2 weeks, and that is now how I take blood tests. Like I said, I don't really put my medical life on here, but before, if I wanted to take a blood test, which I had to do about minimum 8 to 10 times a day, I had to prick my finger with a needle, take a blood test with a monitor, all of that stuff, and through the sensor, right? First of all, I don't have to do any of that, and also I do it through an app on my phone. I can't even believe I'm saying that. Like, the idea, if you had told me 10 years, well, maybe not 10 years ago, yeah, actually maybe 10 years ago, if you had told me that I was going to be taking a blood test with an app on my phone, because the sensor was out back then, but you had to have like a separate monitor to use it, and now you can do it on your phone. That's nuts to me. Like, it's nuts. You can tell I've only had it for 2 weeks because I'm still completely baffled by the technology. But like I said, the sensor has been out for a long time. It's been available in North America for a long time, and I put it off purely because I am also on an insulin pump, and I didn't want another thing on my body. However, there are certain circumstances that I won't go into now that mean that it makes more sense for me at the moment to have a sensor, and if I'm honest, it does make life a lot easier. It has made life a lot easier, and I think it's taken a certain amount of stress off of my husband as well, because you can set up alarms through the app on your phone so that if your blood sugar starts to go low, an alarm goes off. And there have been at least 2 or 3 times already where my husband's woken me up through the night because he's heard the alarm go off. I generally don't hear the alarm go off because I also take sleeping medication. but my husband's a light sleeper, and he's heard it go off a couple times, and he's woken me up, and we've, you know, swiped my phone over it and taken a blood test, and I have been low. So not only is, I mean, that can be, obviously it can kind of disrupt sleep, but it's so, I know for him it's been so reassuring to know that if something's happening or if something's going wrong or if I'm going low, we know about it now. Whereas before we didn't have that because I had to, you know, manually take a blood test with a needle and everything. So to be able to have that is so reassuring. And just for me, I'm so lucky to live in an age where being diabetic is relatively easy comparatively to what it was, like, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago even. I mean, 20 years ago when I was diagnosed, it was so much harder than it is now. So I've been like relatively lucky, but I have to say, being able to take my blood test like this is so much easier. It really does make life so much easier, especially to be, if I'm out and about and we're walking and I feel low, I don't have to literally get down on the ground to take a blood test. I can just swipe my phone over my arm and go, oh, okay, so that's what I'm at, that's why I feel that way. So yeah, even though I've probably put off this kind of like CGM sensor technology for, see, I've been diabetic for 20 years, so at least a decade. Like, it's been a long time. I think the sensor became possible just after I got my pump, and I've had my pump for about 15 years. It's been at least 10 or 11 years that I've been putting this off, if not slightly more. But circumstances mean that, you know, I was edging towards getting it, whether I liked having another thing on me or not, and I've gotten it, and it has improved a lot of things. So I am grateful. Also, just because this is kind of the topic of the moment, I'm fully vaccinated. That was like a whole thing, getting me vaccinated, because we had just moved, and even though I had registered with a GP, for some reason I wasn't on my area's health board. So even though I was high risk and I was supposed to be one of the first people to get vaccinated, I wasn't. I didn't receive an invitation for the first like month. And then when they started tapering off for high-risk people and I still hadn't gotten my invitation, I called the NHS, and it was, I mean, it was a clusterfuck of a situation. And I had to wait another, a good 6 weeks. A good 6 weeks for my invitation, but I finally had my first vaccine, and then I had my second vaccine just over 2 weeks ago. So I am fully vaccinated, very happy to be fully vaccinated. I did end up having a bad reaction to my first vaccination. It did put me down for about a week. I was quite sick, but I had no reaction to the second one, and I'm just so happy to be able to go outside again and not worry too much and not have to like time myself, and it's been a good feeling. It's been a good feeling. Not tons has changed for us because, you know, we're still being really careful. There are other variants out there. And we do live in an area where everything's quite spread out, and I'm a homemaker and I work from home, so I stay at home a lot of the time anyway, but it's just been nice to know that there's a certain amount of freedom, and we've been able to do a tiny bit of traveling around our new area since we moved here. So we've enjoyed some of the surrounding villages, and it's been really great. I thought I'd also do a little chat about like a crafting update and shop update, because they're kind of the same thing. So I've been crafting on and off, but as you guys can tell, we've been pretty busy, pretty distracted. So there's not been tons going on. I am so nearly finished a cross stitch that I started last fall. So it's almost a year, because I started it, actually, you know what? I know exactly what day I started it, because it was the anniversary of my father's passing. So I started it September 30th last year. I'm almost done. It's a bigger piece, and I'm almost done, but obviously haven't been getting much stitching with the puppy and painting and medical appointments, stuff like that. Last month I did a shop update, so there's tons of new stuff in the shop. If you haven't checked that out, I made book sleeves, there's head scarves, there's some vintage and antique pieces in there now. There's also some more crafty bits. So I made a project bag with a matching notions pouch, which is in there. There's tons of new stuff in there, and there's new stuff coming. I have some new products coming soon. Should I tell you? Okay, I will give a hint. One, I've got 3 new things coming to the shop, hopefully within the next few weeks. One is, or I guess 2 of them, because there's 2 of them, are a vintage item. One is a crafty item, and one is a bookish item, a different bookish item. So keep your eyes peeled. I do more shop updates on my Instagram. I also talk about the shop in my vlogs, so if you watch my vlogs you might be able to hear from that. But definitely keep an eye on my Instagram, because that's where I do countdowns and I let you guys know when the next shop update is coming. But it's always linked down below, so you can have a little gander if you like. I also just want to say, I know I made 1 episode of the last makes. There are going to be new episodes coming soon, I promise. I just want to get a few things done and I'm gonna have to find the time, but I promise you I'm working on some new projects, both for the shop and just for myself, because you know the last makes is just about the different types of crafting and artsy stuff that I do, and some of it is for the shop and some of it's just for me. So I am hopefully going to get another episode of that out soon. I would like to be putting at least 1 of those up a month, if not 2. But we'll have to see how the next few months go. Obviously, my first priority at the moment is my health and training little one over there, little baby. So I might need things to calm down a little bit before I feel comfortable filming another one of those videos. They're obviously longer form, and there's a little bit more prep involved for those. And I guess on the kind of same vein as hobbies and crafting and art, reading has been interesting lately, because I've been in a huge reading slump, and I think I've seen quite a few people going through this. But my focus is just shot, and I don't know if it's because the last few months have been really intense and a little bit overwhelming, and obviously like my sleep has been a little bit out the window at the moment, so I just have like no concentration whatsoever. And I'm also finding that when I do sit down to read, I can't read for very long because like my attention wavers or I fall asleep. To be totally honest with you, there's been a lot of naps happening lately. So yeah, I'm just finding that I'm not getting a whole lot of reading done, which is too bad, but I am for the most part enjoying what I'm reading. I also recently just got rid of Goodreads because it wasn't really serving a purpose for me anymore, and then I wasn't missing Goodreads, but I was kind of missing like seeing what I was reading and stats like that, so I added Storygraph to my phone. Amazing, a beautiful, gorgeous. I love Storygraph and I'm having a lot of fun with that, but you know, to really enjoy that I need to be reading more, and I'm not, so hopefully that will fix itself soon. I'm between like, I don't want to force myself to read, but I miss it when I'm not doing it, but at the same time I'm getting like 3 or 4 pages into a book and then I'm just like knocked out, completely asleep, done. It's not happening. So I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm hoping if I persevere without properly pushing myself, then I'll be okay. Then it'll be okay, you know? It'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. I think that is like everything I have to talk about now. I'm playing around with the idea of doing or setting up a Patreon and doing like tiers and stuff, maybe like a book club or something like that. I don't know if you guys would be interested in that, but it would really help me to keep going with this channel. There's a certain amount of things I'd love to do that I don't really have the ability to do at the moment because of certain financial restrictions, and it would also just allow me to kind of connect with you guys on a more consistent and personal kind of one-to-one basis. So I would love to know if you guys would be interested in that, because I have coffee or Ko-fi or whatever you call it, which is like a tip jar kind of thing where you buy someone a coffee. But Patreon is obviously different because it's more consistent. You can sign up when you want to, you can leave when you want to, and there will be different tiers inclusive of different kind of extras and perks. So yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that, and I just don't know if anybody would be interested. So let me know. It would be fun to let me know. Yep, got up at 5. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, maybe consider subscribing. We do crafty things mainly, and we read quite a lot. So if you're interested in that, oh, and I live in Scotland. Scotland's nice. Scotland's nice. I do videos on Scotland, gardening. I think I'm just gonna call this channel, or call myself, a hobby enthusiast. That's basically what I make videos on now. Right? Like, it's just hobby, like things that I enjoy, just hobbies that I do. Gardening, crafting, history, reading, sewing, shopkeeping. We're just, you know, I'm a hobby enthusiast, and if you have a hobby, or you want one, or you like them, consider subscribing. I'm so happy to be back making videos for you guys, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.